She's not, sucker, so she's just a vampire now. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Long time no see. So happy new year. Let's just start there. I'm gonna give a brief update because it's been a while. If you don't care, that's okay. Fast forward to episode 9. We're talking about the originals today. We're getting back into the groove. Go for it. It's fine. You don't need to know this if you don't want to. Anybody sticking around? Hi. How are you? How are you doing? So you may or may not have seen back in October, I posted in the community tab my last update, which was letting you guys know that my community of Western North Carolina had been hit by Hurricane Helene. And it was pretty bad at the time. It just got worse, and the level of like catastrophe there is just sort of like mind-boggling. Like I can't really wrap my head around it even now. And now LA's on fire, and so it's just not getting any better. And I keep taking time to be like, at some point I'll feel like making videos again. I don't know if I'm going to, but I do enjoy this. So we're back. We're just gonna be back. I'm not gonna stick to a schedule. My videos go up on Fridays. Had you guys watched D'Angelo Wallace? He started saying something with his last rebrand where he basically at the end is like, whether you see me in 24 hours or 24 months, like who's to say? That's how I feel now. That's the approach we're gonna take to this, because I love making these videos. I love this community and I love being here, but I have no idea how often it's gonna be. So bear with me. I'm trying to make a few changes, like as far as the scope of content goes, and that should hopefully get me back on track is the goal here. So I'm just enjoying it. I'm just gonna have fun with it. We're just gonna have fun here. We're gonna get weirder. Back in like September when everything was good and we were locked into this, I was saying like, I'm just gonna keep getting weirder on the internet. I'm just gonna keep sharing more things with you guys. We're doing that in 2025. I'm okay. Thank you for all of the support and the well wishes. My husband and our cats, we were very, very lucky. As far as the hurricane goes, like 10 miles around us in all directions, it was just like catastrophic destruction. The loss of life, the damage to the infrastructure, it was just insane. And somehow our house was okay, our apartment complex was okay, and we were able to go home to other family for a little while. And, you know, slowly but surely our water came back. And when our lease was up in December, we actually ended up just moving because we decided it was time. We had already been thinking about it, and I think I'd been mentioning it here a couple times. But yeah, so now I'm officially in Chicago. I'm filming this. This is the first video filmed in the Chicago apartment. So the background's, you know, fairly similar, but new apartment. I'm looking at snow-covered window right now. So the vibes are different. But I hope you guys have been well. I hope you had a great holiday season. There's a lot going on for all of us. So if you're not well, that's okay. I saw a video last night that is one of the reasons why I'm filming right now. Dutch on TikTok. If you guys don't follow him, what are you doing? You need to be following him. He's so sweet. He basically was talking about like, you know, I have time for grief. I don't have time for defeat. And that has just really spoken to me because it's bad right now, but it doesn't have to like ruin my day, you know? I can feel it without letting it consume me. So let's get into the Mikaelsons, shall we? Because they're letting it consume them, let me tell you. Episode 9, Season 2. It's Christmas 1914. We see Cole and who we can assume are two witches. They're in a house, like a big mansion, looking for something. They're searching for one of those Paragon diamonds that he made with Davina, remember? If you need to go watch the episodes before this, it's okay. I had to, so it's fine. On his way out, Klaus and Marcel show up and stop him. They take the diamond and they're like, we don't know what you're up to, but you're a sneaky snake and we're not gonna let you get away with this. And then they lock up those two poor witches in the house so they can never escape. In modern day, Elijah and Rebecca are together at the safe house. She just knocked him out at the diner, but then like took him with her to the house. I thought she was gonna abandon him. She didn't. I guess that makes sense because that probably would have made him more angry, but so she just knocked him out to like calm him down, I guess, and then he's awake now and he's annoyed that she did that, but also he's kind of like, I don't even know why I did that at the diner. Like, it's crazy. I just blacked out. And she's like, yeah, that's scary. You can't be doing that. Do you have any idea how lethal you are on a normal day? You can't be having blackouts, buddy. Cole and Davina are doing a spell to stop Esther from being able to like body swap Rebecca into Cammie's body. It's gonna take time to brew because the magic, you know, here is so different, and I love it. I love the lore that they did for the magic. So that's, you know, brewing essentially, and Cole is like, I'm not worried about it though, because Rebecca's miles away. Like, it's fine, it's not a big deal. Marcel's really testy with Cole, like their tension's running high constantly. Cammie and Davina are the only reason why they're not like at each other's throats. We get another little Cole trauma dump where he's like, Elijah, Rebecca, and Klaus have always been the main trio. They love each other more than everybody. But they always made room for Marcel and they never made room for me. And it's, I get it. It does suck because he's the third brother or whatever, the fourth brother. So like, I forget that he's older than Rebecca because in my head, Cole is the baby and then Rebecca's above him. No, no, no. They just bypassed Cole and then said, we like our little baby sister more than you, dude. That would suck. Davina, at this point, so into Cole. Eating up every little thing he says. She doesn't have a care in the world except being with that man. She loves him. She's gonna help him steal the diamond back from Marcel. No questions asked, right? Like, he brings up that Marcel took it from him and she's like, oh, okay, let's get it back. Esther catches Michael killing her werewolves out in the woods, like her sentinels, because you remember the witches and the werewolves are like hooked up right now. Michael says that he's gonna kill all of them until he finds Ansel, Klaus's dad, because that's who he really wants to murder. And she says, well, you're too late because Klaus killed him. And he, like, I can't stress this enough, like, he's so scary, like, oh, he's so unsettling. He just looks at her and like instantly knows it's her even though she's in Lenore's body, and he's like, oh, I've missed you, wife. Have you missed me? No, no. I haven't, she hasn't, none of them have. She goads him into attacking her and she's like, you know, you've always wanted to hit me. He lunges at her to do that and then he like falls through her because she's a witch. She's just projecting herself to mess with him, right? But she's trying to get him to like work with her. So that's what's happening there. Elijah is nervous to hold Hope, as he should be, because my trust with him, paper thin right now. Like, I know crazy when I see it. The cracks are showing and he's really worrying me on all levels. But I will say it's as cute as you think it is. It's so cute. Oh my God. I hugged this man. Look. And now I don't know what to do with myself. Rebecca builds a bonfire in the backyard and she makes a comment like, it's bonfire season. And I was instantly like, oh my God, are you joking? Because it's Yule, right? It's Christmas. They're talking about Yule and it is bonfire season. You're right. It's such an interesting touch that they're adding in now, right? Because we knew in TVD that they were from the Viking Age. So like, that's pagan times. Like, we knew that going in. But they never really talked about it in TVD because I don't think they knew that they were going that way with it yet. So they weren't sure how much they were gonna like dive into it. And I don't know how much they're gonna go here, but it is really interesting to think about them like back in the tiny cottage, celebrating the old holidays in the old world. Like, I eat it up. He muses over like why their family's always at war. And she's like, you know, being with Hope has really changed that perspective for me. And I don't think we're the monsters that our parents make us out to be. Like, I think we're actually really great. Klaus and Haley show up to see Hope and oh my God, Haley just like books it from the car, sprints across the yard, and Elijah is the one holding Hope at the time. And so he's the one that like passes Haley the baby, which is just as emotionally charged as you think it is. And then she's holding the baby and it's so sweet. Oh my God, it's precious. And then she turns around and gives her to Klaus and Klaus doesn't hesitate. He takes her instantly. He's cradling the back of her head. He kisses her on her little baby forehead. I was losing my mind. We cut to Klaus explaining the firstborn curse to everybody and they're all sort of like, okay, so Hope is still doomed. Like, this sucks. They aren't really sure what to believe, but it does make sense because Finn has been so antagonistic to them forever. And they're like, maybe he just hates us because Freya got taken and he just wanted her back instead. They go to start the fire, but Rebecca is like, hold on. We have to write our wishes down on paper and burn them. I see you manifesting, you little witch. Oh my God. She mentions it was Cole's favorite part when they were kids. And I'm like, I bet it was. Marcel finds Cammy brooding near the coffin where Finn is being kept because he is still locked in the coffin. I'm sure he's fine. She feels like she could convince him to help her since he has such a soft spot for her. And Marcel is like, are you stupid? Like, I'm not opening the coffin for you. And she's like, open the coffin or I'll do it myself. And she's a human, so he could absolutely keep her from doing that, but he gives in because, like, of course he does, and they let Finn out for a minute, and she, like, convinces Marcel to, like, let them sit together, and she's gonna, like, feed him and, like, be nice to him, and Finn is essentially, like, he's borderline catatonic when they open the door, like, he has, like, he's bleeding, there's blood in the coffin where he's been, like, banging and trying to get out, and he sort of, like, slumps into Marcel and then, like, sits down in the chair with Cammy, and he's like, you know, I'm not gonna be swayed by your beauty or your sympathy or whatever, because I don't believe you anymore, you know? And also, your compassion is a disease, and it's gonna be your downfall one day. And she's like, okay, that got dark really quickly. Are you, like, not hungry? Like, just eat. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that, and I'm not gonna help you, because I think vampires are disgusting, and I want to destroy all of them. And he has, like, chains, you know, he's chained up still, and he gets, like, on top of her in the chair and, like, puts the chains to her throat, and he's like, if you stand in my way, I'll kill you and everyone else. And Cammy just is like, well, okay. Anyway, Marcel, put him back in the coffin. Like, girl, you need to just start listening to him. Elijah, remember when I said I don't trust him anymore? It's because he's having these weird PTSD flashbacks where anytime he looks at his hands for too long, he sees them covered in blood and he starts frantically trying to wipe them off and get them clean, out damn Spot style, and it's not going well. Rebecca has noticed this, right? And so she comes up to him with a rag and hands it to him, which was actually really sweet because he cleans his hands off, but there's nothing on his hands. But he needed to clean them anyway, and she just knew. The visions and the, like, you know, mess with his brain, he says it's Esther's doing because she, you know, essentially opened that red door in his mind, and now all this stuff is, like, spilling out and he can't control it. He's thinking, you know, maybe mom just needs a win. Like, maybe if she just saves the majority of us, she'll leave the rest of us alone. So, like, if I go with her, then she's got me, Finn, and Cole in witch bodies, and it'll be fine. Like, that's over. It's good. Okay, now, and hear me out. This didn't make a lot of sense to me, and maybe I just wasn't paying good enough attention, but she says, if you do that, you'll still be the firstborn, and so you'll be cursed. Isn't Finn older than him? Isn't it Freya, Finn, Elijah? That's what I thought it was. So Finn is the oldest boy, right? Okay, so then he says, that's only if I keep the Mikaelson blood. Can they cleanse their vampire bodies of being vampire? I didn't think they could do that. I thought the whole point was that they had to body swap into human witch bodies. Or human bodies. Because for Rebecca, she was going to put her in Cammy, because Cammy's a human, and that's what Rebecca's always wanted. So I don't know. Maybe I missed something. But anyway, Davina finds a 1914 photo of the Christmas party. So, like, Cole, Klaus, Marcel, Rebecca, all dressed up on the staircase. It's giving Mikaelson ball. And we get another Cole flashback of him saying, like, yeah, Rebecca was gonna tattle on me, but then I was like, but if we do this, sister, we can, like, get back at Klaus and, you know, get rid of him for a little while, and you could be with Marcel finally, and then I could, like, do whatever I want, and it'll be, like, payback for all the times he's daggered us. Doesn't that sound fun? And Rebecca, instead of tattling, was like, yeah, actually, you know what, it does, sure. It's bonfire time. Rebecca comes running out of the house with a camera, and Klaus is just like, oh, bloody hell. Just give in, it's Christmas, you're a dad now. Knock it off. She asks them if he can cram them into a selfie together, and Elijah goes, well, he is the expert in cramming his siblings into confined spaces, so Let him live. Klaus wastes no time clapping back with, you know, I'm so glad I traveled hundreds of miles to visit my mentally ill brother just to have him insult me to my face. Anyway, here's the picture. They have to burn it because obviously they can't have proof of hope, so it goes up in the bonfire as like a wish that one day they will be a family and like normal and be able to be together. Rebecca is very triggered by this, and she's like, you know, this isn't fair. Like, we deserve this. We should be together. We should be allowed to be happy. So she says that she wants to take Esther's deal, and she's gonna take Esther down in the process. The boys are like, no, absolutely not. And she's like, you were gonna let Elijah do it until I talked him out of it. And Elijah's like, yeah, because you reminded me that it's a dumb freaking plan, so I'm not gonna let you do it now. But she says that it's a great plan, and they could definitely kill Esther while she's doing the spell to put Rebecca in the new body. But Klaus is like, if we try to hurt her during the spell, she's just gonna body hop. And Rebecca's like, okay, so find a way to stop her from doing that. And he's like, don't you think if I knew how to do that, I would have already killed her? Like, do you hear yourself? Cole agrees to help, and he's essentially going to find like a new body for Rebecca that's not Cammy, but can like easily be like taken out of society. Like, they just need somebody they can like quietly kidnap and no one will come looking for. And he's like, I got you. I can do that. I'm the sneaky little fox of the family. All he wants in return is the diamond that Marcel and Klaus took from him. Klaus and Rebecca head back to the city to work together, and that leaves Elijah and Haley at the house alone with Hope. Now, what do you think's gonna happen? She explains that she found a way to make the city safe for Hope and to save all of her wolves, but it'll mean marrying Jackson. Elijah has a whole silent meltdown, and she assures him that, like, this isn't about Jackson, right? She just has to marry him for the ritual. And she's like, but I can't do that and also be involved with you, because I am involved with you, right? Like, you also like me back, right? And when he doesn't say anything, she's like, okay, woo, I gotta go. And when she turns to leave, he grabs her and kisses her. But then he pulls back and says, marry him. I'm dead. I'm deceased on the floor. He explains that the only way they're gonna make the city safe is if he unifies the vampires, Davina unifies the witches, and Haley unifies the werewolves. If they can do that, then everybody will be at peace and Hope can come home. He backs off and tells her that his wish is for her to bring Hope home safely. And instead of walking away from him, she quite literally just jumps into his arms and they just bang across the living room. Cole found a backup body, so that's all handled. He comes back to Marcel and is like, oh, but I do need to go back to my mom and use her hourglass for the spell. And in order to go back to her, I'm gonna need to bring her the white oak stake. Since I've been gone for so long, she's gonna be really suspicious of me. Marcel's immediately like, have you lost your mind? I'm not giving you that, idiot. Even Davina, remember I said she's wrapped around his finger at this point. She's like, Cole, baby, we can't give you that. What are you talking about? But he swears that Esther doesn't even want to kill them with it. Like, her whole plan is to put them in new bodies. She's not trying to kill them. She just wants it to make sure nobody else can use it. Marcel refuses because he's smart. Klaus comes in and is like, I'm gonna give it to you because this is for the good of the family. And if you go back on this, oh boy. Cole is like, oh my God, I swear on the fate of everybody, just give me the stake. Nothing bad's gonna happen, I promise. So Cole scurries back off to Esther. He gives her the stake. She seems to have forgiven him. Sure. She tells us that she found a way for Finn to escape, so that's probably not gonna be bad for anybody. And then Rebecca comes home. So they link an hourglass that Davina has at the compound with one that Cole has with Esther in her workshop. And essentially the plan is to like let the last sand fall. And right at that moment, the spell will be like ready to be completed. Davina will jam the signal of the body hopping magic. And then Esther won't be able to body hop, so she'll be killable. But also Rebecca won't be forced into another body because it won't work. Rebecca is stalling with Esther a little bit and sort of like, you know, making excuses and being like, can I have some wine instead of tea? Like, I really need you to like give me a big speech, Mom, because I don't know if I want to do this. Trying to like not be suspicious that she's just shown up after being like so against the whole idea. Esther tells her that she's the only child in the family capable of unfettered joy. And she's like, the only time you've ever been happy is when you're with humans. Why won't you let me give you that? Cole asks when he's happiest, and she's like, oh, when you're being told what to do. Okay. Rebecca agrees, and so they start the spell and everything, and then Esther explains, surprise, surprise, I am going to use the white oak stake on your vampire body. So once you go into the witch body, I'll kill your vampire body, and you can never be put back into it. And Rebecca's like, you can't do that. If you do that, then all of my vampires die. But Esther wants them all dead, so she doesn't care. And she was lying the whole time to Cole. He really didn't seem to know about the white oak stake situation, but it doesn't matter. Klaus is going to be very upset with him because he's always lying. So nobody knows when to believe him because it's almost always a lie. Also, she sort of seems to have been one step ahead of them because she says that the second the hourglass flipped, the spell was locked in. So it's going to happen no matter what, and they can try to stop it, but it's not going to work. Klaus shows up. He's freaking out. Like I said, he's mad at Cole. He gets in front of Rebecca when Esther is like, it's not possible to stop the spell. This can't be done. He gets in front of her and is like, anything is possible. Take me instead. Rebecca and I were like, what? Esther says she can't because she's been working with Michael since she met up with him in the woods, and the only thing he wanted in return was the joy of killing Klaus himself. And since Klaus has been so awful to Esther, she was like, fine, whatever, he's not my son anymore, I don't care. Right before the sand is fully drained, right? Klaus jumps on Esther and stabs her. So she dies in Lenore's body, which freaking sucks because I love Lenore. Can't you guys just let me keep one witch? I'm not asking for much. Rebecca and Cammy both start convulsing and pass out, so they don't know if the spell worked or if Davina was quick enough. Nobody's sure. Finn has been freed from the compound, presumably by Michael, so that's awful. Cammy wakes up, and she's still herself, which is great. Cole is in a great mood, post everything going to shit, and Davina is like, why are you so happy? I feel like you did do something sneaky. What did you do? And he's like, well, I might have lied about the 1914 stuff. Like, it turns out that Rebecca plotted against me the whole time, so she told me she wasn't gonna tell Klaus, but she did tell Klaus. So right after we took that nice, cute family picture on the staircase, they attacked me and daggered me in front of everybody. It was humiliating and awful. And also, he just left me in there for years. At the 1914 party, we also see Rebecca with this lady. Remember her face. So as payback for Rebecca doing this to him in 1914, at this point, it is like 2013 or 2014. I think it's 2014. I think we're in 2014. Maybe, I don't know. Cole decided, I'm not gonna put her in a random body. I'm gonna put her in a body of a witch trapped in that house where all the witches get trapped. So now she can't get out. Ha 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 ha. Are you kidding? Davina's like, oh no, that sucks. And then they kiss again. So they're together now, and she's like, you can be as evil as you want, honey. I don't care. And I can't even judge her because, yeah. Esther wakes up still in Lenore's body because Klaus turned her into a vampire. I'm obsessed. This is evil, cruel beyond belief. I love it. So not only did he strip her of her access to magic, because you can't be a witch and a vampire unless you're a heretic. She's not, sucker, so she's just a vampire now. So now she has to pick between dying or remaining the thing that she's been trying to eradicate from the world. He leaves her with a blood bag and is like, it's your choice, mother, which is more than you ever gave any of us. I can't. I just, yeah. Rebecca wakes up in her new body. Sorry, take a second. She's gorgeous. Are we kidding? She's all alone in that big scary haunted witch house. She can hear people screaming, like chains rattling. Doesn't sound good. Doesn't feel safe in the slightest. She gets off the bed and tries to escape, and she's screaming the entire time because it's locked. She cannot even get the front doors open. So she's screaming, crying, throwing up, I'm Rebecca Mikaelson. I'm Rebecca Mikaelson. Girl, you could not pry that information out of me. You are in a body that's not your body. You need to You need to wait it out. You don't know who you're with. You don't know who you're around. Be quiet, Rebecca. Klaus brings Cammy to the safe house to meet Hope for the first time because remember, she thought she was dead just like everybody else. They moved Cammy in to give her time with Elijah because they're hoping like maybe she'll be able to work her psychotherapy stuff on him and like help because he's not getting any better. That annoys him obviously because like his whole thing is that like he's the protector, he's in control, he can handle himself. He cannot right now, and I cannot stress that enough. Klaus and Haley, meanwhile, are going to go back to the compound and stay in the city to deal with Finn because when Finn finds out what they did to Esther, he is gonna pop off like nobody's business, and they're all trying to get ahead of that. They all think Rebecca's coming home, but remember, she is locked in that witch house, so that's not happening today. Finn is linked up with Michael, and so now they're gonna try to destroy the siblings together, and I fear they can't make me like you, honey. Like, I do love Vincent. Vincent's style of magic, the way he like moves his hands and stuff while he's casting, love that man, love him. Finn Mikaelson, no, bottom of the totem pole. Jackson and Haley are prepping for the wedding, and he explains that it's like way bigger than just a ceremony. Like, they have to go through these like trials and rituals and like a truth serum ceremony, like full bonding of souls stuff before they even exchange rings and vows. He's really excited. He's like, I think it's super cool. I've been dying to do this with you literally our whole lives. Like, this is like our fate is to do this with each other. So I can't wait to get to know you better. Haley, who would rather be shot than share a secret, is like, oh God, kill me now. Also, she's still in love with Elijah. So like, how's she gonna get away with not telling him that? Thankfully though, slight distraction, she brought in all the influential wolves to meet with Marcel and the vampires so that they can start discussing things pre-wedding, because post-wedding they're gonna need to get along. Rebecca is being like forcibly tied down and drugged by these scary witches inside the house that have like scars on their faces. She tricks him though and spits out the pills that he's giving her. They are not the same pills the armory gives Bonnie. They are a different color. Once she gets out of her room, she sees like all these other like patients, kind of, wandering around in various states of distress. It's not good. Like, the vibes are bad. But she runs into Cassie, so she's alive and well and has been put in this house, and now they cannot get out. Cole is giggling and kicking his little feet over getting rid of Rebecca. He's never been happier. He moved into her room because he's awful, and his room was turned into the nursery, so he's like, oh no, I guess I'll have to stay in here. Finn shows up and goes to him first and attacks him for what Klaus did to Esther, and is like, you guys are arrogant and you think you're smarter than me, but that's not gonna last for very long. Haley and Marcel explain that the vampires want to help the wolves get away from the witches, which is the whole point of the wedding and all of that. Finn comes down and is like, oh, good luck. You think you guys can work together? That's so cute. The only thing that can ever exist between your species is hatred, war, and death. Let me prove it to you. And then he like bangs on the compound wall and throws down a barrier spell over the compound. See, I'm telling you, Vincent's magic, sick as hell, man. I love him. So he's forcing them to cohabitate for who knows how long. Keep in mind, vampire eat werewolf, so this is not gonna go well if they don't get out soon. Marcel gives Gia a talk about behaving around the wolves. She's being very like tough girl, like doesn't want to follow his rules. Kind of all of a sudden, it's needed for the plot of the episode. So just know in your heart that everything Marcel says, Gia's like, why would we do that, Marcel? The whole episode. Elijah keeps calling Rebecca, and she is not picking up the phone or calling him back, and you know his big brother instincts are just like going haywire. He's losing his mind. He doesn't know where she is, and it does not make sense that she hasn't contacted him. Cammie's trying to help him, but he just sees through her shrink stuff and like isn't having any of it. She picks on him and is like, maybe this has nothing to do with you. Like, maybe my life sucks to the point where I just want to get drunk and play a game and have fun. She's definitely reverse psychologying him, but she sort of like Uno reverses it again, where when he's like, yeah, sure, Cammie, she's like, okay, tell me how you feel about Haley. And he's like, fine, let's play the game. So like in the end, it does work. Klaus picks on Haley for having hooked up with Elijah. He says he knew immediately. He was like, I walked back into the house, I saw the two of you, and I was like, oh, well, something happened here. He also assures her there's absolutely no need to tell Jackson. Why would you tell him that? Cassie explains to Rebecca that the house is essentially a dumping ground for witches that have been broken by magic. What? I don't know if it's a good or bad thing that this is sort of confirmation that the witches like across covens seem to be weirdly biased about stuff like this, but these people are not being taken care of. It's not like there are like medical professionals in there with them making sure they're safe. It's like a free-for-all. And some of them are really unwell, right? Like, this is terrible. And these are your coven members. Like, some of these people were probably married with kids. Some of these people are like siblings, and like, what are you doing? You can't just get rid of them when they don't work the way you want them to anymore. I just need to talk to whoever wrote the witch lore, because it just gets sadder and sadder. They just keep layering more stuff in that makes me be like, dang, that sucks. Speaking of, remember I mentioned those like scarred witches that are like really extra scary wandering around inside the house? They're called the Kindred. They're necromancers from another coven. We don't get names for everybody, but they're from another coven. So not the New Orleans coven, another coven specializing in necromancy and immortality spells. And they got so wound up in stuff they weren't supposed to be messing with that I guess the New Orleans coven was like, no, no, and like pulled them in and kicked them into the house. So now they're sort of in charge, like impromptu guards, but they're real violent and awful. Rebecca is like, Cassie babe, we're still witches. All we need is to be able to send out a little distress signal. Davina meets up with Cole to, wait for it, break down the barrier spell that's been put on the compound. Once again, I guess it's all fun and games when regular witches do it, but like, God forbid somebody be able to do it easier. But it doesn't work for some reason, even though there's 2 of them doing it and it should be possible. Turns out Finn is channeling a dark object to like keep the spell running even when he's not actively casting it. It's Michael, trapped in a salt circle. Bet you didn't see that coming. Cammy and Elijah are now getting drunk, while she tries to find a question from the Yahtzee game that he doesn't know the answer to, but my man knows everything. He's so smart. As I said, they're getting relaxed, so he's taking off his jacket. She ends up spilling his drink on his sleeve, and he has a small meltdown trying to get it off. She tries to calm him down, and he like snatches her arm and snaps at her that he's not as fragile as his brother seems to think he is, which you're not like proving that fact to me, my man. Cammy and I are now more scared of you than we were 5 minutes ago. The girl whose body Rebecca was supposed to use that he's been calling calls him back and is like, I'm not Rebecca, leave me alone. And he's like, oh, abort mission, we have a problem, where's my sister? Cole tells Klaus he needs to get Finn out of Esther's workshop because whatever he's channeling must be there. In order to do that, they need Finn distracted. So he's like, just tell him where you put mom's body and then he can go get her while Davina sneaks into the workshop. Haley tells Jackson the truth about hooking up with Elijah while she was away. She was gone for like 3 days. And he's upset. Like he handles it decently well, but like it hurts him because like Haley has feelings for Jackson, but they're not super strong. Like she just sort of likes him because he's a good guy. Jackson loves her. Like he's in love with her. She promises like gently that like, you know, it doesn't matter how she feels and she's not going to go back on the wedding and she's okay with making this. And Jackson's like, sacrifice? That's what you were going to say, isn't it, Haley? So that almost hurts him more, like to know that he's sort of like taking her away from what her real happiness would be. That's more painful to him than her just being like, I don't like you. Josh and his boyfriend are trapped together because Aiden's a werewolf. So they're stuck in the compound with all this nonsense going down. They sneak up to like one of the top levels and they're gonna make out and it's real cute. I just love them so much. They bring me so much joy every time they're together on screen. It's just so precious. Aiden's all nervous and he's like, somebody could catch us. And Josh is like, I don't care. If they see me making out with my boyfriend, like big deal. And Aiden's like, what? And Josh is like, oh my God, I just called you my boyfriend, my bad. Y'all been dating for like episodes now. What are you talking about? But then Aiden is like, I'm sorry, the wolves just don't know about you. And at first Josh is like, hold on. You're telling me I died and turned into a vampire and I've been dealing with all this nonsense and I'm back in the closet? No, I'm not doing that again. But it's not like that. The wolves aren't homophobic or anything. They know Aiden's gay. They just don't know he's dating Josh because Josh is a vampire. So that's where the problem lies. All of a sudden, Josh gets hit with a weird wave of magic from Finn and he starts like eyeing Aiden's neck and it's just like, I'm gonna bite you, bro. So he has to run. Yeah, Finn's doing some intense animal sacrifice stuff with a fish and it makes all of the vampires ravenous. Klaus seems to be the only one unaffected, I guess because he's a hybrid, and so he calls Finn and is like, hey man, if I give you Esther's body, will you stop? And Finn's like, I don't know, will I? And Davina, like I said, can temporarily stop magic from working so that the barrier spell breaks down for a minute and they can get out. But if they do that, it'll mean all magic stops working. So like the vampires' daylight rings will stop working and they will be cooked in the sun. So initially they're gonna wait until nighttime and let everybody out, but it makes so much more sense to just go ahead and do the spell now and let the wolves escape and leave the vampires trapped inside. Like, what are they gonna do? Desiccate? They'll be fine. Let the wolves out. Rebecca convinces Cassie to help her try to send a message with like Scrabble pieces. She's essentially just trying to send out, I am Rebecca Mikaelson, SOS. Cassie's magic has been blocked and like is funky, but Rebecca is like, you're gonna help me anyway. Like if you just tell me what to do, I can do it. Just like channel me and make it work. They do manage to get the spell to work right before almost getting caught by one of the Kindred guards. And when they leave the room, like a mysterious gust of wind blows through and like moves the pieces on the floor. Elijah's getting more and more worked up now that he's extra nervous about Rebecca. He nearly attacks Cammy. Like he lunges at her with his scary vampire face. She's freaking out and like cowers in front of him, and that seems to like bring him back to himself, so he runs away again. While Rebecca is in her room later that night, she gets a weird nightmare message and like hallucinates or maybe sees a lady dressed all in black in her room. The guards try to stop her from like getting out because she's screaming, because again, she's never quiet, so they catch her freaking out. She fights them like a vampire though. She bites one of them in the neck. I thought it was so funny that that's just like how she fights even in a human body. So she does escape, right? And now she's like following the scary ghost lady upstairs. She sees this locked door at the end of a hallway. She can't get in. She goes to leave. The door opens creepily. She goes inside and sees the lady from her vision in the coffin. And she's like, what the hell is going on? Finn breaks in to save Esther from the crypt. She did drink the blood. So she is a vampire. He goes off. He's like, you're a disgusting, nasty hypocrite. I hate you. I'm so disappointed in you. I don't want to be your son anymore. Screw you, mother. And I was like, damn, this is getting dark. He says that he was awed by her humanity and her conviction to her beliefs. And now he's just like, I don't believe anything you say anymore. How am I ever going to trust you again? You've ruined everything. Like, all I can do is finish the job that you started. Cole and Davina start prepping the spell. Fighting breaks out amongst the vampires and the wolves. Aiden gets cut on his arm and Josh is like, oh boy, I'm about to eat my boyfriend. It's time for dinner. Klaus grabs him and is like, Joshua, you get away from him right now. And it's like, I loved that moment. It was so cute. The spell works and they're able to like touch hands over the border because the border drops, so they're able to go like this. This will become painful. Remember it in your hearts, okay? Keep it locked up in your minds for a little while. So the wolves rush out and get to safety. The vampires stay behind. Before Cole can escape, Klaus kicks him back inside because he says he knows damn well that it was Cole who screwed up the body snatching thing, and he knows where Rebecca really is and he needs to tell him immediately. The vampires instantly are like, we're gonna eat Cole Mikaelson. He is dinner. We're gonna tear him to pieces. So he like runs frantically up the stairs and is gonna go hide in his room probably. Marcel at first is like, oh yes, delicious, I can't wait. I've been dying to kill him for episodes now. But Davina is like, Marcel, please. So he decides, fine, for Davina I will behave. And he goes after Cole to like keep an eye on him and keep the others from attacking. Jackson circles back to Haley. He's calmed down now, he's thought it through, and he's like, we can still make this work. He refuses to force her to love him because he says she's been through enough and she's dealt with enough hardships, and he's like, I'm not gonna do that to you. Like, that's not what I expect from you. I love you, and that is what it is. However you feel is how you feel. But this thing that we need to do together is important, and so I'm okay with it if you are. He gives her a real ring, and it's very cute. Elijah apologizes to Cammy for having almost eaten her in the living room. He says that he's feeling very overwhelmed and anxious, and now that Rebecca is also missing, he just feels like he can't do any of the things he's supposed to be doing because his mind is breaking and he's meant to be protecting everybody, but it's all falling apart and it's his fault. Cammy is like, oh, buddy, if you ever need to talk, I'm here. Like, that's why they put me with you, because I can help you work through this. Klaus goes down to the crypt and finds the blood bag drained and Esther missing. Finn took her body and puts her in the salt circle with Michael, so now he's just channeling both of them. He talks to them about remembering when they were happy as a family and how it all ended when Freya died. He wishes that they never had any more kids because all they did was make a little pack of monsters. But now he's gonna make everyone pay. Rebecca has now been properly drugged. Like, she is passed out in her room having weird hallucination nightmares. The tiles on her floor shuffle around and slowly spell out Freya. So the vampires are still locked up. I don't know how many days later this is. Probably not that long. Klaus is planning to use Davina, so he's like on his way to get her to help get them out. Marcel calls and is like, I'm trying to keep them from eating your brother, but it is getting harder. Also, I got bitten when we were trying to keep Josh and Aiden from killing each other. Klaus like stops walking in the street and is like, oh, Marcellus, I will get you my blood as soon as possible. I promise, just hold on. And Marcel's like, okay, thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. But he immediately starts hallucinating about 1916 when he went to war for the first time, I think. Yeah, it must have been the first time. He's going to fight the Germans, right? Klaus went off on him because if anybody even hints that maybe they're abandoning Klaus, that's like his deepest wound. And so he immediately is like, I hate you, you're a terrible son, screw you, and just like goes off on him. And Marcel weathers it and is like, you know, this isn't about Rebecca, this isn't even really about you, like, I want to go do this for myself, I need to go help these people and do what I can for the war. So he leaves. The fact that he's hallucinating, just again, do you guys remember when Josh got bitten? And he was lucid and walking around and totally normal with no hallucinations. I still think about that. I just feel like they forgot for that episode how quickly the fever was supposed to take place. Because like Marcel got bitten maybe the night before. I think it was probably the night before and this is the next day, right? And so he's not doing great already. Like, he's in and out of lucidity, but he's hallucinating. He's seeing dead soldiers and stuff. Cole can't behave himself to literally save his life. Like, all he needs to do right now is sit down in a locked room and shut up. And instead he's like picking on Marcel and like egging on the vampires. So whatever happens to him at this point, I'm like, I don't even know how to help you, buddy. Like, you're just an idiot. Marcel slips into another hallucination, this time about Joe, one of his soldiers from the war. He's the first one that figured out Marcel is a vampire because he kept seeing Marcel get shot and then like getting up and helping other people. So he's like, either you have like a horde of guardian angels that are just like plucking bullets out of you and like patching you up, or you're a creature of some kind. Which is it? The squad leader ends up getting killed, and so Joe insists that like Marcel take over because these men, it's a group of all black soldiers, right? And so they've been shortchanged. They're not being given enough gas masks or ammo or anything like that. And a lot of them are dying every day, but they keep fighting because it was so important to them. And Marcel has sort of unified them under like, you know, we may be screwed. We may be the episode titles like Brotherhood of the Damned. He's like, that may be us, but like, at least we're fighting for something that matters. And when the leader gets killed, they like promote Marcel without talking to anybody. I don't know if you can just do that, but they do. The soldiers are like, you're in charge now. Davina and Klaus have teamed up now. She does a locator spell for him. It's like a new version of the locator spell. I know they have so many versions of it now, and they keep making up more. I don't know if they just wanted to show us different unique version. I didn't just put blood on the map and let the blood move around. It doesn't need to be any fancier than that. It's fine. She can see him like working on a spell somewhere, but before they can run off to go stop him, Klaus passes out and she can't wake him up. Elijah and Cammy are having a little therapy session. He tells her he was friends with Freud, so he's like, I'm not sure what you can teach me that I don't already know. And she's like, let me try. Let's just attempt this. He explains the red door to her, you know, which is essentially where he keeps all his worst memories, and because it's been opened, everything seems to be spilling out and he can't control it. He talks about how his need for control is a way to fight these like violent bursts of chaos that he's prone to. I really do have a type, don't I? Like, damn. He owns up to loving Tatya and tells Cammy that like this whole time, he just let Klaus think their mom killed her, because admitting that he killed her, he was like, he was never going to forgive me for that. Like, he had no idea that I also genuinely loved her and we were together. Because, like, Tatia loved Elijah. Like, she didn't want to be with Klaus. Klaus loved her. She didn't love him. In the middle of talking, he just goes down from the same spell that Finn was doing on Klaus. Remember how I said Cole has been antagonizing the vampires? Now they're trying to eat him. You know, why wouldn't they? And so he's attacking them now. Mid-attacking them, he passes out also from the same spell. The boys wake up in this weird, like, suspended dimension. Cole explains that it's like a hunt room where witches will, like, psychologically torture their victims for however long it takes to get what they want. Finn can't be hurt inside the spell since he's the one casting it, but he can do whatever he wants to them. The wolves that have agreed to follow Jackson and Haley give up their rings. But in order to be, like, connected to the pack and given access to Haley's power to, like, you know, control when she turns, they have to physically be there to witness the wedding. So they start spreading the word to invite others. So the pack is gonna grow, theoretically. Like, however many people want to come can come and join this, like, special hybrid pack. Jackson and Haley head off to meet his grandmother Mary because she's gonna be the elder that, like, officiates their wedding. Inside the witchy hunt room, the boys are represented by animals. That was how Finn cast the spell. So Klaus is a wolf, Elijah's a stag, Cole's a fox, and Finn is a boar. Why would you do that? He did the spell. Why would you do that to yourself? Finn wants Klaus to feel as powerless as he does after what they did to Esther. So his plan is essentially to just, like, trap them there until nightfall. Then he'll let them out. But at that point, the barrier spell will fall on the compound. There's a celebration going on right now in the city, so the crowds are going to be, like, filling the streets, and the vampires will suddenly be freed from the compound, and they're ravenous, remember? And it's just getting worse as the hours go by. So by nightfall, they're just going to be, like, a horde of zombies. Marcel gets sucked into more flashbacks from the war. They're trying to, like, ration out their food, but again, they're being shortchanged, so they don't have a lot to eat. They don't have nearly enough. Joe tells him that he knows he must be hungry and, like, offers him his arm, and Marcel is like, oh my god, never us, dude. Like, I'm never gonna eat from you guys. He gets taken to headquarters to talk to somebody higher up, and it's just Klaus in a tent filled with food and women. And then he says, like, hey, surprise, I thought you might be hungry, here you go. And Marcel is so starving that he very nearly eats the ladies. But then at the last second, Klaus is like, once you're done eating, we can go home, right? And Marcel's like, no, what's wrong with you? And that sort of, like, snaps him back into himself. And he's like, I'm doing something here that you can't even understand how important it is. But, like, this is my family. Like, these men are living and dying for me, and I'm gonna stay here and fight with them. He has this hallucination around Gia and Josh, so they realize that he's been bitten. Josh is sort of like, whoa, bro, that's bad. I know how bad that is. Gia is like, I can't believe you lied to us, because remember, she's, like, in her, like, tough girl era. So she's really fighting back on the fact that he lied, and she feels betrayed by him. And she's like, you're supposed to be our leader. Right now you suck at it. And it is fully just to, like, tie into the soldier plot. Like, I didn't like it. It was silly. I was like, why is she mad? Like, calm down. The spell for Finn, they have to either, like, live up to or defy their expectations, and that's how, like, the power of the spell either works or breaks. So Elijah asks Cole, you know, what did you do to Rebecca? Like, just tell us the truth for once and maybe you'll get out. And Cole's like, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. Just let me out, because I'm the only one in, like, mortal danger right now. You have got me, like, unconscious, lying on the floor. You made my nose bleed, so now I'm bleeding in a room of vampires, and they're gonna eat me if you don't let me out. Finn, wanting to avoid the boys getting what they want out of this, like, lets Cole go just to, like, be spiteful. So Cole wakes back up. Marcel goes to attack him, and Cole stops him by being like, the spell's gonna be dropped at sundown. Like, you need my help or we're not all gonna get out of this. And Marcel's like, you're wrong. We're all getting out alive. Jackson and Haley head to his grandma's house. She is the first girl he's ever brought to meet her. So this is just turning into a bigger and bigger deal, even though he keeps saying, like, it's not that big of a deal, it's okay. Mary is adorable. I loved her. I feel like she probably will die because don't get attached, but I liked her. She walks them through the rituals kind of offhandedly, just, like, telling them what they're going to be expected to do. And Haley freaks out when she hears about the like truth serum, like secret sharing thing they have to do. She's like, no, I can't be doing that. And she just straight bolts into the woods and leaves. Finn wants to discuss Klaus's dad and like the craziness of him waiting centuries to know him and like that being everything he ever wanted and then just killing him the second he got the chance. And he's like, the only reason you would do that is for something bigger. He's starting to piece together that like the city being taken from him isn't enough, Rebecca being taken from him isn't enough. What's enough to break Klaus? Because like there must be something else that he wants more than all these other things that used to be so important to him. Jackson catches up to Haley to convince her to come back to Mary's house, and she says that like her whole life she's avoided being honest because it just leads to problems, and now she's hooked up with the Mikaelsons and like they're scary. Like secrets amongst them tend to mean people die. He promises that he'll go first when it's time to open up. As far as he's concerned, her secrets are his secrets. Her demons are his demons. Like whatever she needs to go through from here on out, they're gonna go through it together. He's gonna protect her and take care of her and be there for her. She agrees, but like this is bad. She won't be able to hide hope from him. So she's gonna have to tell him, and we can all guess how Klaus is gonna handle that news. Gia confronts Marcel once again for like lying to them, and he has a flashback of Joe convincing him to turn all of the soldiers into vampires because remember they didn't have enough gas masks, so they all got bombed with that and they were all gonna die. Marcel then explains to all the vampires what's going on with the barrier spell, and he's like, you're gonna have to make a choice, because if you give in and you run out there and you eat all the people in the street, we're gonna lose our city for good. We're not gonna be able to stay here. They're all gonna know about us. We're gonna have to leave and we'll never be back in New Orleans. Or you can come with me across the river to my house where I have Klaus's blood for myself and plenty of blood bags for all of you. So if we can just do it together and you can trust me and follow me, I'll get you there. The barrier drops and they all go with him. Inside the spell, Elijah cracks and tells Klaus that he's the one that killed Tatia. He just starts spilling his guts. He's like, yep, it was me all along. I loved her. I accidentally brutally murdered her, and then Mother helped me clean it up and hide it from you, and I never told you because I knew that you would never be able to forgive me for that because it's unforgivable, and I'm disgusting and awful, and I'm a monster, and this whole time you thought I was the good brother, but I'm not the good brother. I've never been the good brother. I'm terrible and awful and disgusting. Like, you just kill me. It's fine. And he like, I think he gets down on his knees, right? Like I think he like collapses, and Klaus is like very upset. Like he's very angry, very hurt, very confused. Finn is like, ooh, awkward. By you admitting to it, you stay noble, so the magic holds. So nice try. But Klaus is like, no. We're starting to see through the cracks into how depraved our brother really is. And while we're on the subject, you made me the big bad wolf, which is very obvious. I'll give it to you. But you failed to realize that I'm also capable of forgiveness. And then he sets a hand on Elijah's shoulder so they stay united against Finn. Klaus explains the bonds of family outweigh everything, including petty jealousies and blood feuds. Listen, he says a lot of things, doesn't he? So, sure. This act frees both Klaus and Elijah from the spell, and they go to attack Finn because then they can hurt him. So he quickly releases the spell entirely and everybody wakes up. Marcel and the vampires are walking the streets like a pack of zombies. It's real rough. There's a very cute moment where Marcel sort of stumbles a little bit and Josh like catches him on the shoulder, and so they're like crawling forward together. It was good. I liked it. Everybody was giving. It's cut through with Marcel talking to his freshly turned vampire soldiers, and they're gonna like run up over the trench and attack all the Germans and kill them. Just kill them to keep them from getting to the town that they're protecting. Now look, I know I told you that like the Gia stuff was nonsense. It was. We didn't need that like added weirdness from her, because this, like the cut between like Marcel with the two groups of soldiers, it's very good. Sometimes the flashbacks really work, and this is one of them. In the present though, Marcel collapses at Gia and Josh's feet before they can get to his house. Marcel wakes up to Gia taking care of him. She gave him Klaus's blood, so they're all better now. All the other vampires are eating his blood bag supply, so he's gonna have to handle that. Finn shows up and is like, I know damn well you know the secret I need to figure out. So he kidnaps Marcel and the other vampires, like he takes all of them. And he's gonna like essentially try to torture info out of Marcel. Elijah is like happily hanging out with Cammy and Hope now, and he seems like he's doing a little better since he told the truth. Klaus calls him and updates him on everything, and it seems like maybe he's telling the truth about forgiving him. I don't trust anything that he says. So like, he could dagger Elijah the next time he sees him, and I'd be like, yeah, of course. So we know that Finn took the vampires, right? But Aiden and Klaus don't, and now everybody's trying to find them, except most of the wolves are out in the woods waiting on Jackson and Haley to get married. And Klaus is like, why would they need to be out there for that? And Aiden sort of explains the rituals and stuff that need to go down, and when Klaus finds out about the truth serum ritual, he reacts just like we thought he would. Don't forget about Rebecca. She wakes up, she's still in the creepy witch house. She's now having nightmares about Freya mixed with visions of that girl in the coffin who we now know is Freya. So bad all around. Haley's out in the woods with Jackson. She's still going back and forth where she's like, I'm gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. She explains that like the secret she has is huge, like way bigger than anything he could possibly have. And she just can't tell him, like it wouldn't be safe. He's like, girl, we're literally werewolves from a mystical secret pack fighting vampires and witches. When has our life ever been safe? Also, I have a secret too. It's about your parents and how they died. Let me go tell you that first. Rebecca finds Cassie in the house again and brings her an apple from the pantry, even though they are not supposed to steal food. She's planning on channeling the witch she found in the coffin, because Rebecca still doesn't know how her magic works, but she like can feel that she has magic, and she like knows other things have magic, and she's like, that witch in that coffin radiates like unimaginable power. I'm gonna just channel her, and that will be enough to get us out of here. Cassie agrees to help and like go with her and everything, even though she very clearly thinks that Rebecca is like making some poor choices and is pretty crazy. She's like, sure, why not? It could be fun. We see a girl in front of the TV watching cartoons. She's absolutely Freya from the coffin, okay? Clearly that's who it is. Rebecca doesn't recognize her because she had like a black veil over her face, so she couldn't see her clearly, but we know who it is. Cassie says she just got dropped off in the middle of the night, and Rebecca like checks in with her to see if she's okay and is like very nice to her, and then gives her the apple. Davina wakes up after having accidentally spent the night in Cole's secret workshop crypt thing. He's got everything prepared to create the dagger, but right before they can get started, Aiden calls her and says that Josh is still missing, so she of course rushes off to help. Yeah, so Finn took literally all the vampires, and now he's got them all in salt circles, and he's channeling all of them. He's trying to break Marcel and get him to crack and tell him the secret he thinks he knows. Remember though, Marcel's under compulsion to forget the compulsion, so he has no idea what he could possibly tell Finn to get him to leave him alone. Jackson takes Haley to a graveyard for wolves that have been like exiled or left the pack, so they still get buried together, but they're not like with the other wolf graves, I guess. He didn't really explain if there's like a sacred graveyard somewhere else. I bet we'll find out at some point, maybe, but yeah, anyway, this is where like the bad wolves go, and he shows her his grandfather's grave, and he's like, he was like a weird wolf purist, and he didn't want us to work with anybody, and so he killed your parents because they were trying to work with Marcel and the vampires. She's initially like, oh, I feel like you should have told me that when we met. Like, that seems like something you should have gone ahead and told me early, okay? That's a little different from the secret that I have. He says he didn't know until Mary told him, and so I guess Mary was gonna tell her, but he was like, I wanted to do it because it felt important coming from me, and I wanted you to know before we got married. Klaus has hunted them down, so he shows up and is like, hey, could I just pull Haley over here for a second for a little chat? The Kindreds start beating up Freya for taking the apple because they say she's a thief and, you know, she's not supposed to do that. Rebecca gets involved and tries to help her, and so they grab a fire poker and break her hand, like just straight shatter her hand. Freya is like, why did you do that? Like, why did you help me? She has such unsettling energy. Let me make that abundantly clear. She is so unsettling. Rebecca is like, I don't know, I guess I'm just too compassionate, and like storms off. Haley tries to stress to Klaus that like, this marriage is the only way to ensure Hope's safety. Like, if they do this, they'll be able to have a literal pack of special hybrid werewolves that can protect her like one of their own. And Klaus is like, I can protect her. I'm enough for her. Like, why can't I do it myself? She reminds him that A, she doesn't take orders from him, and also, he's the problem. He's the one with hundreds of thousands of enemies, like all trying to come after and kill the child. Like, that's on him. He did that to them. So he wants to protect the family. Maybe he needs to go away. But she knows that this marriage situation is gonna give Hope her best chance, and that should be what matters to him more than anything else. She tells him that he needs to trust her because she's Hope's mom and she's gonna do whatever she needs to do to protect Hope. He like puts his hand on the back of her head and is like, I do trust you more than you know, and then snaps her neck and goes, but I just don't trust Jackson. You are such a problem. Davina comes back to Cole's lair with Aiden and some of Josh's things to do a locator spell. Cole's kind of annoyed, but he's like, you know, whatever. I guess you're my girlfriend and you can do what you want. Again, they just stay channeling each other. Like, if they're gonna do a spell, they're like, why don't we do the spell together? We'll be twice as powerful. Shut up. Find Josh at Lenore's old bodega, so they realize that that must be where Finn is keeping them. So they run off to go deal with that. Cole is at his core so selfish. Like, we've discussed this. We know that that's what he is. I do think he's gonna grow a little bit more with Davina being his girlfriend, but I don't know how much, because right now he's just really annoyed that she won't help him make the dagger. Ooh, I forgot to tell you, when they broke Rebecca's hand, the Kindred also like snatched Freya's amulet off her neck, which I don't know why you would do that in a house full of witches. Like, I don't care who you think you are, if you're in charge or what, that just seems like, don't be doing that. Like, across the board, just don't be doing that. She took it anyway, so now she's like holding in her hand. She gets led up to the coffin room and then sucked inside. Terrifying. Freya wakes up Rebecca in the middle of the night and asks her why she's there, because she said she was somebody else. So like, how'd she get put in this body? Rebecca explains that she was trying to help her brothers and one of them betrayed her and now she's ended up here. And Freya's like, why would you fight amongst each other? Like, you should be relying on one another, your family. Rebecca's like, yeah, girl, I've been saying that for a while. It's really complicated. If you want to come with me, though, I'm gonna escape in a few minutes, so meet me downstairs in 10. Klaus goes back to Mary's and is like, hey, Jackson, like, I talked to Haley. She's running an errand. Can I talk to you now? Because, like, I really need to discuss this with you and, like, bro to bro, try to figure this out. And Jackson's like, sure, why not? He goes outside with him. Klaus like immediately like vamps them deeper into the woods, throws Jackson down. Jackson's like, you want to fight me? Fine, we can fight. And Klaus is like, oh, buddy, this is not a fight. This is an execution. So tell me, how would you like to die? So yeah, he starts slowly beating Jackson to death, and it's pretty awful. Like, Jackson's like sort of fighting back, sort of crawling away from him. He keeps saying, like, you know, why would you kill me? Like, all I want to do is help Haley. This is better for Haley. This is better for all of us. Like, you said you wanted to be a wolf. Why are you doing this to me? It sort of comes up that, like, part of the reason why Klaus is so upset is because Jackson got all this time with Ansel and Klaus didn't get any time with him. And Jackson's like, yeah, but you killed him, dumbass. Like, you could have had time with him. He wanted to know you. Why is that my fault? Also, I could tell you all the things I did. You could look at my memories. Like, why are you killing me? Klaus, because he is nothing if not a paranoid psycho, thinks that Jackson must just be in this for the power, and all he wants is to, like, get control of Haley's power and, like, tie her to the wolves and then expand the wolves and, like, take over everything. And Jackson's like, that's not even how pack dynamics work, which you would know if you spent any time with us. So Klaus flings him into a tree and absolutely cracks several ribs, if not his spine. Finn tortures Marcel until finally he believes that he must not know anything because he has thoroughly broken him and Marcel still hasn't said anything. Cole wanders in and is like, hey, Marcel owes me one, and so I'm just here to repay that, and then stabs Marcel in the hand. Finn doesn't believe him, and he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I know that you were part of the reason why Esther got taken, and, like, yeah, maybe you turned on Rebecca, but, like, you're not actually on my team. You're not actually helping me right now. And Cole is like, have you met me? I flip for whoever's winning at any given time, so you seem to have the upper hand right now, which means here I am. He says that he has Davina wrapped around his little finger and they could do anything they want with her kind of power, so if Finn would just trust him, they could just work together. Rebecca goes looking for Cassie to do the spell to get out, but instead finds the coffin room open. When she goes inside, the coffin is empty and the dead Kindred lady is just like laying on the floor. Cassie shows up with fresh scars on her face, and it turns out that she like turned Rebecca in and now is one of the Kindred. Rebecca fights her way out, but then Freya shows up and just bodies all of them. And she's like, you're all so mean. You're like the mouse that torments the cat on the cartoons. I think you're the ones who need to be punished. And she just kills all of them. She then turns to Cassie and is like, I'm the most disappointed in you because you're smart and talented and you still turned on a friend. And then just like takes her by the face and nukes her from the inside out. That spell that the New Orleans witches keep doing where they like melt from the inside, she just does that to her instantly, instantaneous. She's gone in seconds. As Cassie like drops to the floor, she turns back to Rebecca and is like, I despise traitors, before she helps Rebecca up and heals her hand with like a light brush of her fingers. This is the kind of voiceless magic I love to see. You guys know how I feel about voiceless magic. Like anytime you've got witches doing that, I'm just like, yes. So Jackson's crawling away from Klaus on his hands and knees. I guess he didn't break his spine, so that's probably good. He says that he won't give up. He's gonna fight for Haley until he's dead because he loves her. He stabs Klaus with like a shard of wood. Klaus pulls it out and is like, I'll give it to you, man. Like, you are resilient. And he like gets him up on his knees and is gonna like stab him through the head, I think. Like, it was rough looking. He says he's like ultimately not impressed. Jackson hits him with, you told me once that my people were your people. So if you kill me now, promise me that you will help Haley set our people free. Before Klaus can answer, it did seem to sort of affect him a little bit. Like, he was still probably gonna kill him, but it was softening him the tiniest amount. Haley shows up and like gets in between them. She says that if he really wants to kill Jackson, he's gonna have to kill her too because she'll die protecting him. Klaus is like immediately just like, okay, whatever, fine, it's not that big of a deal. Tell him, see if I care. Go through with the little wedding, I don't mind. He does also tell Jackson that if he betrays Haley, he will cut his head off, put it on a spike, and leave it in Mary's garden. Finn pieces together that Cole hurting Rebecca but not being attacked by Klaus is weird. Elijah not coming back to the city to help with everything is weird. Like, they must be hiding something. He's just slowly piecing it together that there's something bigger going on that Klaus is keeping from him. Also, he was aware that Davina and Aiden were sneaking into the back of Lenore's bodega, so he immediately frees all of his vampires and they swarm and attack. In the back, Josh almost eats Aiden, but he manages to like get his hands on his neck and snap it, and so Josh like collapses into him. Height difference for one, adorable. But there's this like half second, it's so quick, where Aiden just like leans on him for just a moment to be like, I'm sorry, and then throws him over his shoulder. I see you. That was an excellent choice. It was so precious. Freya just yeets open the doors to the scary witch house and her and Rebecca walk out together. Rebecca is trying to like understand like why she didn't say anything. She's like, you know, you're so strong. Why are you just suddenly helping me? And Freya basically is like, well, I wanted to get to know you first. And now I see that, like, you know, you're fun and you're willful and you're kind on top of all of that. You're not half as bad as our brothers. Yeah, also she's the girl from the party in 1914. Freya lets them both out and I think breaks the spell in the house, so maybe the other witches can also leave now too. But she leaves on her own and tells her to warn the brothers that she's gonna come see them soon and they better all be on their best behavior. Cole tries to run from Finn and ends up cornered by all the vampires. Finn stops them from killing him, but then just like starts fighting with Cole, and he's like, why couldn't you just follow Mother's orders? Like, all she did was try to take care of us and you ruined it again. And they have like a really intense height difference too, so it's really like sad to watch like Cole like sort of shrink in on himself and like tremble. And it, again, they all have such crazy PTSD, and in moments like this it's really obvious because Cole immediately like shrinks and starts going like, Finn, I'm sorry, like, please, you're really angry and you're not yourself when you're angry, like, just think it through, give me a second chance. And Finn's like, oh, you don't deserve another chance, Cole. So instead, he gives him the thing that they know he fears most, which is death, and he locks him in Caleb's body so that, like, if anything happens, Cole will theoretically die for good. And then he's like, go ahead and run, brother. I won't miss you. Jackson is gonna be fine. They're healing him. It's gonna take a little while, but he's gonna recover and be okay. Mary's not mad at Haley. She's like, we've all got skeletons. Like, he told you, you know, my husband was crazy too, so it's fine. Haley then tells Jackson about Hope. Klaus calls Elijah and is like, la la la, I think the wedding's a good idea. I'm very excited about it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna unify the wolves and it's gonna give Hope like a little army of people to protect her. All the things that he told Haley were a bad idea. Now he's taking credit for him. I hate that man. But then he says, you know, and then after the wedding, who knows what might happen to Jackson? And like, he's sharpening a knife. So, okay. Rebecca shows up to see Klaus at the end of that conversation. He's so happy to see her. Marcel wakes up again with Finn. And Finn's like, here's the thing. You're the last person who saw baby Mikaelson alive, right? You were in possession of the corpse. So all I want you to tell me is, how did the baby die? And Marcel's like, I don't know. Like, he can't tell him because for some reason they thought of everything except a cause of death for Hope. You're joking. You're joking. What are you talking about? So yeah, Finn figures out that the baby's definitely alive. And he's like, you and your little vampires are gonna help me find her. I'm really loving where this season's going. The magic's amping up. I like Freya. Hopefully we get to keep her. I think we get to keep her for a while. Maybe? I can't remember. But yeah, I'm not as like stuck as I was feeling. I was hitting a wall for a little while there, but it's picking back up and I'm feeling pretty good about it. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you again to everybody who checked in and reached out during this hiatus. I have my socials all linked down below. I'm most active on Tumblr. I was very, very active on TikTok. That's sort of fallen apart too because it may or may not be getting banned soon. So I just like don't want to stay attached to it because if it's gonna be gone. I'm currently most active on Tumblr, so feel free to come hang out there. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys so soon. Have a good one. Bye!